The official numbers on Palm Beach real estate? They tell a pretty simple story of slow, steady growth. But what if I told you those numbers are, kind of wrong? What if they're not just a little outdated, but they're missing the real story completely? Today, we're diving into a powerful argument that this market isn't just appreciating, it's being fundamentally repriced right before our eyes.
So, to really get what's happening, we've got to start with the one number everyone thinks they understand. It's the big headline figure, right? But it's also a bit of an illusion.
Yeah, 2%. That's the official year-over-year median home price increase. And look, it's technically accurate. It's what you'll read in the papers. But here's the catch. It's a lagging indicator. It's like trying to drive forward while only looking in your rearview mirror. It tells you exactly where you've been, but nothing about the road ahead.
So you have to ask, what is that simple 2% figure actually missing? Well, turns out there are some powerful economic forces at play, creating a whole new reality that the data just hasn't caught up with, at least not yet.
And that brings us right to the core of it. From analyst Matthew Krinzman, he's saying, look, this isn't about small incremental gains anymore. We're talking about a seismic shift, a structural repricing, and it's being driven by something way bigger than typical housing demand. So, what's the engine behind this massive change? It starts with a huge wave of corporate relocations. And we're not talking about little satellite offices here. We're talking about the big guns moving in. Okay, first up, Wells Fargo. They are moving their entire wealth management headquarters. We're talking senior leadership of a division that pulls in $16 billion in revenue to be physically closer to their high net worth clients. This isn't about saving a few bucks on rent. It's a massive strategic relocation of capital and decision makers. And then you've got ServiceNow, a nearly $200 billion AI giant, bringing in over 850 new jobs. This is so much more than just a new office. The analysis calls it a talent migration. It's a steady, sustained influx of high-earning professionals into the area. Just look at the scale of these commitments when you lay them out. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of square feet of prime real estate being snapped up by industry titans. This isn't just a news headline. This is the physical DNA of the city's corporate landscape being rewritten. Now, all this corporate movement is having a fascinating effect on the real estate market. It's basically splitting it in two. We're not really looking at one market anymore, but a tale of two very, very different ones. And here's that split clear as day. While the non-luxury market is kind of inching up by just 1.2%, the luxury market has absolutely exploded by nearly 11%. These two ends of the market aren't just moving at different speeds, they're separating into different orbits. And here's why that's happening. The relocating execs from Wells Fargo and all that new talent for ServiceNow, they're not exactly shopping in the $500,000 median market. They're playing in a completely different tier, one that's fueled by corporate demand and capital flight, not by local wages. And that demand is what's pulling the high end of the market into a different stratosphere. Okay, but here's the crucial point. This isn't just a short-term blip driven by a few office leases. This is about laying the foundation for a permanent, high-net-worth ecosystem. And the proof? It's in the institutional investment. We're talking massive, long-term bets on infrastructure that only makes sense if this new, wealthy population is here to stay for the long haul. Just look at the money pouring into healthcare. Cleveland Clinic is making a huge commitment. But even more mind-blowing is Good Samaritan's planned redevelopment, a $2 to $3 billion project. You just don't make those kinds of investments for a seasonal population. This is a 9-figure bet on a permanent, affluent community that expects world-class medical care. And this all fits perfectly into developer Stephen Ross's master plan. See, it's not just about building office towers. It's about building an entire ecosystem. First, you land a tech giant like ServiceNow. Then you bring in an elite university like Vanderbilt. And you top it off by securing a premier healthcare provider like Cleveland Clinic. You're creating a place where top talent doesn't just want to work, but to truly live. And of course, where all that institutional money goes, ultra-prime residential real estate is sure to follow, designed specifically for this new class of permanent residents. A perfect example of this is Mandarin Oriental. They're launching their first standalone residences in South Florida. I mean, this is one of the most selective, prestigious luxury brands on the planet. Their commitment is a huge vote of confidence that this market isn't a bubble, it's the real deal. And they are definitely not alone. There's a whole wave of new towers, Alba Palm Beach, Olara, South Flagler House, all rising up to meet this new demand. And they're all targeting a buyer who simply doesn't even register in those county-wide median stats. So when you put all these pieces together, the corporate moves, the institutional bets, the residential boom, the conclusion becomes crystal clear.
And this right here is the key takeaway. When you have this much institutional and corporate momentum all pulling in the exact same direction, the market doesn't just inch up. It fundamentally resets its pricing to a completely new level to match this powerful new demand. Remember that 2% median figure we started with? That's the rearview mirror. It's telling a story about what happened months ago. The real story, the leading indicators, the corporate leases, the hospital construction, those new luxury towers. That's what's telling you what's happening right now, and more importantly, what's coming next.
Which leaves us with this final thought. We are literally watching a fundamental market repricing happen in real time, way faster than the official data can even track it. So the real question isn't if it's happening, but how high this reset will go, and what the next phase of this incredible transformation is going to look like.
This explainer was based on the fantastic market analysis of Matthew Krinzman at Sotheby's International Realty. Thanks so much for watching.